Hello, gang. Professor McElroy here. I'm going to go ahead and click that. Welcome to Web Design 2, January section 2022, GRA 2524. It feels good to say 2022. 2020 and 2021 have been interesting years to say the least. Hopefully 2022 brings some great things for you, your friends, your family, and for your schooling. Time flies, boy, time flies. So looks like we have a good group for Web Design 2 class. It looks like only one of you took Web Design 1 last month. Most of you have had a little bit of separation, a little bit of a break between Web 1 and Web 2. I like to give you a little time to kind of get reacclimated, resettled in to the web design process in Dreamweaver in our learning module 1. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to navigate through the coursework a little bit. It looks like everyone in the class is primarily distance learning, learning from home, either watching me synchronously live each week or asynchronously. So that's a good thing. And so I'm here lecturing. I'm going to go ahead and record this. It's running now, and then I'll post it in my announcement section when we're done. Those of you, and it looks like everyone in the class has had me prior, some for Web Design 1, some for other classes, and they know kind of the process, how I like to do things. And I like to lecture for an hour, hour and a half or so, do a mini personal project myself, and then open up the class lab time for working on step-by-step projects. If we have a couple of chapter assignments, or if we have an out-of-book project for our learning module. Everyone probably knows by now in GRA that we have 4 learning modules, 1 for each week of the course, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Learning module 4 is an open lab week where it's a post-course or final project assessment. So we spend the first 3 learning modules or first 3 weeks working on some step-by-step, doing some out-of-book projects, following along with my lectures, kind of doing some professional application just to kind of get you into the ease of the process. Learning module 1 was all about basic HTML, understanding Dreamweaver, the FTP connection, basic skills as it relates to web design and web editing through an HTML process program like Dreamweaver. And you probably got an opportunity to explore a little bit of cloud-based design in a WordPress or Wix environment, depending on how long it's been since you took Web 1. Might be a different cloud-based application that you tinkered around with, but nonetheless, you were able to. Web Design 2 is all about responsive design. So in Web 1, we dealt strictly with fixed wireframe proportions. 1024 traditionally was our width. And now we're going to get into a responsive environment where you can see right from Hodges.edu. When you log onto a website and you have primary navigation running along the top of your page, and you shrink that browser window to a phone or a tablet, and you get what's called an accordion menu, or you get these 3 little lines up in the corner and you click on them, and your navigation expands down into a downward menu. That's responsive design. So your content area may go from 3 columns to 2 columns to 1 column based on the portrait versus landscape mode or the pixel ratio of width versus height. It's a responsive web page. Well, of course, that's where we're going in the world because everything has become an interactive internet thing, right? Dashboards on your cars. Like if you name it, there's a touchscreen. I mean, you can even order at some restaurants now, pay your own bill, use a touchscreen that's at your table or your booth. So much has become interactive. Signing in for your hotel room, go into a kiosk, using your phone as a key card to get into your room. Like everything has turned into a multimedia experience. So Web 2, of course, is migrating us into a responsive environment, a responsive world. So that's what we're going to be tackling. Learning Module 1 is just easing us back into the process of Dreamweaver. Chapter 9 and 10 in your book, they're about 45 minutes each for each of the assignments in your book. 9 is button button links, basically links on your web pages. Chapter 10 is interactivity, like rollover navigation, which we talked about in Web Design 1, right? The 4 states of navigation: up, over, down, and over while down. No different. Hover navigation in chapter 10 in your book talks about the hrefs and the buttons and the interactivity and how things work. Remember from Web 1, we talked about CSS and JavaScript and the scripting commands, accordion menus in JavaScript, some of the colors, formatting, spacing controlled in CSS. Well, we're going to navigate into an environment in Dreamweaver called Bootstrap. And Bootstrap is a template environment where you build web pages in a responsive wireframe environment, where you have traditional navigation that runs along the top, but you also have accordion menus that appear as you shrink your page. So as you navigate through your book and you get beyond chapters 9 and 10, and we start navigating 11, 12, and the bonus chapters of 13 and 14, we'll start seeing this Bootstrap environment. So let's kind of dive into it. Many of you, if not all of you, know that I like to use the announcement section as a place I communicate with you. So I'll be posting files in there for lectures. I'll be posting announcements, maybe real world things that I see that I like, that I might want to point you towards. All kinds of different things. So make sure that you're actively engaged in the announcement section. I think I noticed from the cohort that we have in this class, all of you have had GRA, all of you have had Web Design 1 before, because you need that for Web Design 2. Just because you need a comfort level in Dreamweaver, having explored it at least to do basic HTML editing before. And I think every one of you have had me in a class before, so you kind of know how I like to work. You know that my email address is the easiest way to communicate with me by far. Yeah, I have an office number and it rings through and the recording goes to my email. But if you send me an email and I'm not in class lecturing, and that's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night this month, I have lecture series classes. I have a Adobe Animate class. I have a video and audio editing class, and I have Web Design 2. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I'm in class 6:30 to 9:30-ish. So that time, it's a little bit harder for me to respond to emails, but any other time from 8:30 in the morning on up, I'm very responsive. So if you're working on a project, and you probably noticed that from the past, if you send me an email, I'm pretty quick to respond to it. Please make sure you're reviewing my comments in any projects you may submit. Just like Web Design 1, file organization, file submitting, zipping your files, giving me everything that I need to review what you're building is really important. I can't see things if you only give me pieces of things, because you should have learned from Web Design 1 that we live in a world where everything is linked and connected in multimedia world. Remember, it's like a straw connecting computers together, sharing data. And the bigger the straw, the quicker we share things. The more things driven by code, the quicker it loads. The more things driven by images, high resolution images, the slower it goes. So just know that I need your zip file of all of your files, your root directory. Remember that from Web Design 1, your root directory or your public HTML folder, your client folder. So like when I give you a file to download, like this pizza file.zip, that is the public HTML or root directory when you unzip it. That whole folder has to be given back to me for your out of book project for Learning Module 1. I've already built, using the Bootstrap template environment, a responsive wireframe design, 2 pages for you. We're going to edit the first page tonight as a lecture to refresh the Dreamweaver connecting process and the HTML editing process. And then you will build, compile, complete the other page for me for homework, and you will give me this file back as a zip file. Don't give me just the index page. Don't give me just the about page. Don't give me just one page. Make sure you give me the whole folder back as a zip file. Also remember that you can't give me the file as a folder without it being zipped. Canvas will not let you upload a folder. It will allow you to upload a zip file. So please make sure that you do that when you submit your file for me. Make sure you zip it back up. Okay, so that's the beginning. Remember to download that folder for the lecture, because I'll be doing some basic editing of our responsive wireframe, pointing out a few things in Dreamweaver, reconnecting to the folder through a site connection, and doing all the basic processes that we ended Web 1 with. Week 1, I try to ease you in, just a couple of chapters, a simple out-of-book project, so that you can really get comfortable with Dreamweaver again. Now, I'm at my computer lecturing and I'm recording this, and it's a live lecture. I don't see any students so far live connected in the lecture, and everyone is online. So send me an email if you're going to be doing online each week. And if everyone's online, I may just lecture from my office here on campus than coming to the lab to lecture, if it's just going to be me lecturing live to you and recording. So just let me know by email. And that way I'll know if you actually watch the recording as well, because I should get an email saying, Professor McElroy, I'm going to be online every week. So just to let you know that, and that way I can plan accordingly each week. So that brings us over to the syllabus section. Everyone knows the syllabus. It's the standard deal for Hodges. It has my contact information. Here's my email address. Definitely the best way to get in touch with me. I'm very responsive. You'll see the weighted totals over here, right? Your discussions, your participation posts, your individual book assignments, and your out of book projects, and then your final project. It all adds up to 100%. It all has a weight. It's all important. So try not to skip anything. I try to do a really good job of posting due dates. Now, keep in mind, this is only a 4-week session, just like your other sessions. I'm very flexible on allowing the full 4 weeks for students to get done assignments they have to get done. Do know Sunday night at midnight at the end of week 4 is when the session ends, and I process grades on Monday afternoon. So I give you a lot of leeway for full point consideration for the 4 weeks of the session, but Sunday night at midnight, it does end. So space out your time accordingly. I know life gets in the way, this COVID environment gets in the way, family gets in the way, kids, friends, any number of things get in the way, job. I understand that. So that's why I like to give you as much time as possible to complete assignments in your learning modules. It really helps space things out. With that being said, there is participation to the process. So please make sure you're communicating with me if you drop off the face of the earth for a week. I had so much overtime, I didn't get to my classwork yet. Job really got in the way. Family really got in the way. Girlfriend, boyfriend really got in the way. Had car trouble, just was a bad week. Couldn't really get to much. Make sure you're communicating with me by email so that I can keep the dialogue open and I can keep you going through the process and continuing to kind of roll that ball downhill towards the end of the semester. I know we live in a Netflix and binge environment, and students are comfortable with doing lots of things over a 3-day weekend. And each book assignment is 45 minutes to an hour. So you could binge over the weekend and do a lot of assignments if you really stuck to it. I don't want you to disappear for a week or a week and a half and then expect it's easy to get back in the swing of things, and it's easy to get back to producing assignments and finishing them in a timely manner. So just be aware of that, like stick with it and keep working along at a steady pace. The more you practice, the more you kind of sticks, the more you gravitate towards it, the more you learn. If you're in Web 2, more than likely you liked Web 1, or maybe you're just interested in more that has to do with web design, so you're into Web 2. Maybe you want to build a personal website for an idea you have or a business you want to start, or maybe you just want to be able to help your current employer edit their responsive website design that they use to sell their product or service. This skill is applicable, it's viable, it's something you can do for every industry. So it really is a really good skill to have. Not to mention that grad schools are starting to accept HTML and coding as a foreign quotation mark language, second language. So it's a good thing to learn. That in the world is being driven by technology. So the more you know about the behind the scenes part of technology, the better off you'll be. My wife is looking at electric cars. Oh my goodness, I can't believe we might be an electric car family. Trying to find an affordable one, and that seems to be a really hard thing to do right now. But there's a possibility in the next year, one of our cars could be electric. Well, with electric comes a lot of software driven features, commands, parts of just owning the car. And so the more you know about it, the more you can put on a thumb drive and upload it to your car. Or there's an update or there's an error code or something, and you can Google it and figure out what's going on. Doesn't mean you can fix it, but it means you might be able to find out who or where is the best available place to get the fix. So I think electric cars now have mechanics that just show up in your driveway. I know Tesla does. I know Rivian, the new car company, does. If you have an issue with your car and it's under warranty, the person just shows up with a belt full of tools, and they climb under your car or in your car and they fix it right there in your driveway. It's kind of a scary thought. But when cars are electric, they're primarily software driven and there aren't many movable parts. So of course a mechanic could show up at your house and fix your car because there's only 6 parts that actually move. So most of it's software updates or a tightening of something, or, just something wears out, so they have to replace it. So we're kind of moving into this world. So I think you're in the right place if you're here learning a little bit about coding and web design, a little bit beyond the intro to web design course. So I'll notice that most of you, if not all of you, are doing asynchronous tonight, which means you're going to watch this recording later. So I'm going to try to keep this recording to an hour to an hour and a half to give you an optimum opportunity to work on your assignments. All right, so that brings us to our module section. You'll probably notice that you can only see Start Here in Learning Module 1. I have the other modules turned off. So don't worry about the due dates on assignments of things you can't see yet. That gives me the opportunity to tweak, modify, adjust, add to, subtract elements from our learning modules as we progress through the 4 weeks to make sure that we meet the outcomes of the course. I did have a meeting today at the university, and we're talking about this COVID surge and what's going on around the world as it relates to educational institutions. And I think not too far in the distant future, public education, private university, public university, you're starting to see this kind of change to some distance, some extended semesters, some different things that are going on. Masking and vaccination and all kinds of stuff going on. So I want to give us the ability to edit what we need to keep moving along, but not be tied to everything if I turned everything on at one time. So I want to give you the opportunity to spoon feed the content and learn it as you go. With that being said, you should all know about the Start Here tab. It's the course overview, what Web 2 is all about, our book, which is the Dreamweaver CC 2021 book, that if you took Web Design 1 last month, which one of you did, that was the book we used. If you took Web a bit ago, you may have been in an earlier edition, a 2018, a 2019, a 2020. If you have any of those editions, it's okay to use that versus the 2021. Just know that the student chapter files, which I attached here, are specific to the 2021 book. So if you have an edition for 2020 or 2019, you will need to go to peachpit.com/register, register your ISBN number, and download your student chapter files. Also know that Learning Module 3 in this particular course of Web 2, we do 2 bonus chapters that are attached as addendums online at the end of your book. So you need to register your book so that you can download the bonus chapters and also see the bonus PDFs that do the step-by-step for those enhanced steps. I like the bonus chapters at the Web 2 level because it does give us some new latest and greatest features. If we get towards learning module 3, and I feel like we need to reinforce a few things that we did in the first couple of chapters, I may replace one of those chapters, bonus chapters, with a mini project assignment. So just know that's why I leave the flexibility towards the end of the 4-week session. 4 weeks go very quickly. So please make sure you have access to your book on the VitalSource digital materials. You should be able to view your PDF that way. Know that we are using Dreamweaver again this session, just like we did in Web 1, and know that I did zip the files for the chapter assignments in this particular course. Not all courses I can do that because some of the student support files are enormous. I teach a web and audio editing class in Premiere and After Effects, and the student files for the book is about 5 gigs worth of video and audio resources. Students have to download them via peachpit.com/register because I can't upload 6 gigs of student files into a learning module for them to download. First of all, if it would take forever to upload it to Canvas, if it even would allow me, which it doesn't. And secondly, it would take you equally as long to download it out of the Canvas environment. So this particular course, I did provide those files for you. So your digital book is there. Your student chapter files are there. It looks like a couple of you have done your student introduction. If you haven't done that yet, please do. It's only 5 points, but it's a great way for students to learn each other, right? What their majors are, what they're interested in, what they like, their tendencies. Because remember, we're working now in a virtual world in many industries, and B, every industry is a team building environment of some kind. So you have to be able to interact with fellow employees, employers, clients, in this case, students in your class, your instructor. So we really truly are in this TEC environment training you what the world is going to be like in year 2022, 2023, 2030. I mean, as we go forward, more and more things are going into this multimedia, interactive, online, distant work, distant learning, distant sharing kind of environment. So get comfortable in it. So make sure you do your student introduction. Make sure you download your chapter files. Remember, keep those on a thumb drive or keep them on your hard drive somewhere where you will know where to download them, edit them, play with them, connect to them in Dreamweaver, and you won't have anything that breaks along the way. All right, so that brings us into learning module 1. This week is all about just a mini refresher in getting us back into the swing of things as it relates to Dreamweaver and HTML. Now, 2 books, two chapters in your book, 9 basic button href kind of information, chapter 10, interactivity, rollover, features, hovers, that sort of thing. Each chapter is probably pretty simple. I think these first 2, maybe 45 minutes each tops for you to do. Make sure that you download that zip file, you connect in Dreamweaver, you do your chapter assignment, and then you re-zip your chapter assignment when it's complete and give it back to me by submitting it in 1.4 and 1.5. Make sure that when you zip the file, you include your last name in the chapter 9 and chapter 10. So for me, it would be McElroy chapter 9.zip. For me, 1.5 would be McElroy chapter 10.zip. Make sure you include your last name in the folder that you're zipping to submit for me upon completion, because when I'm downloading multiple student files, if they all say chapter 9 and they all say chapter 10, I get chapter 9-1, -2, -3, -4 as I download each student file. So make sure you include your last name inside of the download so that I can keep track of student files. I can file them accordingly. I can review them and I can comment on them. So you have 4 deliverables in learning module 1. You have chapter 9 deliverable, You have chapter 10 deliverable. You have a discussion board share, which I think of 1 or 2 students have already posted in. And you have your Alda book project, which is my lecture started tonight and just completed by you. So we'll start it tonight. You'll finish it as part of your homework, and then you will re-zip the file to me and give it back to me as your Alda book 1.7 submission. Remember, you should include your last name in the folder of the Alda book as well. Okay, so that brings us to our file that we downloaded from our announcement and the beginning of our Dreamweaver connectivity. So I'm going to go into the McElroy folder. Here's Web 2, and here is the file I downloaded from the announcement. And I'm just going to add my last name to the file. So I'm just going to name it McElroy Pizza, so that you know you should do the same thing. When you download the zip file and you unzip it and you start to connect in Dreamweaver, make sure that you add your last name to the file. So when I compress that file, it will be my last name pizza.zip. We're going to do a pizza parlor as one of the optional businesses. You'll notice in the Alda book, I give you other names of places and different products and services you could do if you wanted to. But you'll notice I'm actually going to do pizza week 1, and I'm going to do a cafe website week 2, building from scratch in a bootstrap environment. So we're going to deconstruct to reconstruct week 1, and we're going to build from scratch week 2. So by the end of week 2, we should be able to go into Dreamweaver and set up a responsive website template design and start populating pages right from scratch in Dreamweaver. If you can do that, you can build any website you want to build. We actually migrated Hodges.edu from a WordPress environment over to a Bootstrap environment where it is a responsive website design that was completely modified in-house. So we're not tied to any cloud-based template environment. The reason that's important is because it gives us more flexibility, more things we can do. We control the entire code environment. All right, so that's us for our Alda book week 1. We downloaded it and renamed it. So now I'm going to jump into Dreamweaver, right? All of you have already explored Dreamweaver before from Web Design 1. So here we are back in the environment. Toolbar on the side, FTP connection, all our assets over here. And we're going to go in and create a new site. And this new site is going to be McElroy Pizza. And I'm going to go in and connect it to my pre-built template environment, which is responsive. Now, I'm going to minimize this just for a second so that we can open up the responsive site so we can talk about the elements. It's got 2 HTML pages. So I'm going to open this up. Here it is. So here is my template that we're going to deconstruct and reconstruct, right? Here is the name of my business. Here it is right here. Here is my index.html. And here is my copied page, which I just named as beer, because normally pizza and beer kind of go hand in hand. So we have 2 HTML pages. Now you'll notice this is primary navigation, and this is our logo text. Now watch what happens as I shrink it. This is what responsive design is. My menu has become an accordion drop down. That's really important. So you'll notice as I expand, my gallery expands, my content expands, 3 columns, everything I need. Let me just move this up just a skosh so you can see my crumbs down here. Like everything in this template is pre-populated. And watch what happens as I shrink it to my accordion. My menu shrinks, my information shrinks, and look, my column goes from 3 to 1 column in my content area. It's 3 columns. When it's wide, see, here it is right here. Shrink it down, shrink, 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 and it goes to 1 column. That's what the Bootstrap environment in Dreamweaver is all about. It modifies, manipulates, and reformats based on the pixel ratio of width inside of my web design, my browser. That's important in a situation where you think about a car. Think about those touchscreens in cars. Most of them are landscape, but some of them are portrait. So when it's portrait, it's snapping the width of that screen down so that you have to be responsive in menu, right? So it shrinks down, it goes to accordion. Really important environment to just understand. All right, so let's go ahead now and let's go back to our Dreamweaver, because remember now we made that connection, that site connection. So locally, I'm connected with a CSS file. There it is, Bootstrap and Pizza, controlling my responsiveness, 1 column and 3 column, basic color encoding, and my accordion and gallery features that are driven through my JavaScript. So we've taken Web 1 and now we've bumped it up just a notch now into our Web 2 kind of liquid responsive wireframe. We still know where everything exists. Now we just gotta understand that when we edit it, we're editing it in a format where it could be 3 column, 2 column, 1 column based on the device we're editing it in. Okay, so let's open up our index.html, and here it is. Now, you'll maybe remember from Web 1 that I like to work in split view, and I'm going to work in live view because live view gives us the accordion features and design view stacks everything. So see how it looks a little different in design view than in browser live view. I like to turn it on to live view just so that students can see the difference in the way the features and the elements exist. Okay, so one other thing I really like to do, so I'm going to shrink this browser down just a little bit, and I'm going to go in to my pizza folder, and I'm just going to open up in Safari our template here. That way I just can take a look at the code and I can reference where it is as it relates to my code over here and my live interactive view. So sometimes I'll have the browser open and I'll just take a look, take a sneak peek, because sometimes it's easier to see it over here than it is to see it in code or split view. All right. So now the fun begins, right? So now we have to get into everything from our title to our content we're editing. Now you'll notice, or you may have noticed when I opened it up in Chrome, that that our title was untitled in the tab. Well, you should know from Dreamweaver Web 1 that that title's the tab in the browser that needs to have a name. Now, you see all these crazy JavaScript and CSS files that appear up the top here. This is all the Bootstrap settings for our template. That is a responsive environment, everything from color breakdowns to fonts to font families to our scroll bar settings. We're going to leave this for week 1 exactly the way it is. We're going to let the template be the template. I built a really basic black and white template for you to build our first out-of-book project in responsive web world, just to make it easier for everyone. So we're going to take this template and we're going to recreate a couple of pages of it, swapping out content, editing the pages themselves, not the CSS or the JavaScript. We're just going to edit the HTML code just to make it a little easier for everyone so they can get back in the swing of things. I thought as a lecture, well, why don't we just do Jets? For me, I'm just going to do Jets Pizza. So I think it's jetspizza.com. So let's go ahead and open that up. jetspizza.com. And actually, I'm going to open it up in Chrome just so that we could see the title tag. So let's do a new window and do jetspizza.com. And we could see that it says pizza, wings, and salads, Jets Pizza. That's the name that they associate with the title, pizza, wings, and salads / Jets Pizza. So if we're going to make this thing and kind of keep it true, we're going to do pizzas, wings, and salad. Jets Pizza. So I'm going to try to keep this as consistent as I can with the actual page itself. So we'll go ahead and edit our title, and we're literally going to go down and just take a look at each of our elements here and make sure that we know what it's referencing. And you see these pixel ratios right here? That's the breakdown of the columns based on the width of your browser. So that's just giving us pixel breakdowns of when it changes from 3 column to 2 column to 1 column. You'll notice we have a padding of 70 pixels at the top. You're going to notice that the name is right here, and it's part of our navigation bar. You remember that from Web 1. And we need to change this to Jets Pizza, just so that we have the name. So, and we're just scrolling down here just so you can see the button navigation animation. We're just editing everything. Every once in a while, I'm going to do save, file save, or Command S, just to make sure it's saving everything. And if I refresh it in my browser, there it is, changing there. And so now let's scroll down. That's all part of our navigation bar, our responsive navigation bar. And you should know the column tags because of Web 1, and we talked about them. And take a look at this, our carousel, this thing right here. See, pizza, first slide caption. That's what this div or frame is. And it's tagged with its background color of gray. And it's an active class, and it's Carol sliding through. And you'll notice it has a target of 1, 2. And I'm just scrolling down just so you can see. Slider 1 JPEG is the first slide, and it's got this title and caption. So let's go back to gallery number 1, and here it is, first slide caption, pizza. Actually, because we're doing pizza, I'm going to leave the images for my gallery, and I'm going to change my titles and tags just so that you can see. So I'm going to do pepperoni pizza. Actually, I like onion. So I'm going to do onion, even though the picture shows pepperoni. And we're going to do the best in the business. And I'm going to save this, and you can see me saving it. And because I have it open in the browser, I can click my refresh, and then there you go, right? So you're seeing me edit my HTML. You're seeing the responsiveness happening in my index.html. Slider 2, which is my second slide, is my pizza, my salad, right? So actually, if I go into my images tab, right, you can see slider 1, 2, and 3 right here. So you can if I wanted to replace them, I could just drag or save an image into my image folder and name it slider 1, and it would replace that image. Name it slider 2 and drag it in there, and it would replace that image. Remember from Web 1 that we can easily either change the name or change the file here to match it, and it would replace it. So let's do healthy salads. And we're just going to do the freshest greens. So there we go. We'll save it. I'll hit refresh just so that you can see it, right? And we're literally editing everything right on the fly here. Number 3 says, third heading, third caption. So I need to change that to, maybe we'll make something up and say it's gluten-free food items. Gluten-free food items. And do even pizzas, exclamation point. Save that. Hit refresh, go over to my third image gallery, and there you go. If I was using, look at Jets. If I was copying Jets, I could do, look at all these great curbside pickup. We've got Detroit style. We've got start a franchise. I mean, there are so many things that we could swap this template out with in order to match whatever pizza place we love. Pizza 2000, there's Jets, there's, I don't know, is it Brick Oven or one of those? I think it's Blaze, maybe, that's in Fort Myers now. There's so many options, but I want you to see where things are located in our index file so that we can edit our pages accordingly to match the items that we are building. All right, so now let's just quickly scan down just so we know where everything is, so we know what we have going on here, right, Nate? There's our navigation container. Here is our color sequence, our carousel, our slider images, and the images we replace. That's our first container, right? We have our container controls here for our buttons, right? So we have our before and after navigation. So we're looking for now our logos and some of the elements that we're using. So there's our logo.png. So we know if we go out and grab a different logo and replace that logo with the new one, see previous and next, we know these basic commands. So slices and mugs is our next section. So here it is. There was our logo just above it. It's 200 by 204. So let's change this with, let's go here. And what was one of the other sections that would be cool? Get the gift of Jets Pizza. So Jets gift card. And you see get sauced is underneath of it. So we could do give the gift pizza. And I'm scrolling down. All right, so we have a paragraph break. So let's find that. Here it is right here, a fun family eatery with handcrafted. So let's go. And just for this part of the process, I'm going to scroll down here and see if there's some text I can grab. So I know, let's go to About Jets. And I'm just going to copy maybe a sentence or two out of here. And I'm going to bring it back over here, and it's in my paragraph. So everything is blocked in. So I can paste it there. And then look at that. So let's save it. That's in my paragraph. Let's hit refresh. And here it is, right? So you can see how it fills in. And so I'm just literally just going down. So there's our story. And actually our story is what I was copying here. So let's take this. I'm just going to copy this. Looking for a better house, he found a better pizza. So this is our paragraph. And you see how it's two paragraphs? So maybe I want to copy ours into two paragraphs. So let me find my piece. So these are two paragraphs. I'm going to copy the first paragraph. Move that over. So here's paragraph number 1. So I'm going to put it right here. And you'll notice the paragraph will expand, but the paragraph break will still give me the second paragraph. So the P tags are paragraph breaks. We learned this from Web 1. So here's paragraph number 2. So let's put our updated text in paragraph number 2. And look at how the black box expands. The container expands to include it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit refresh. There's my Jets. So let's go into my actual design here and hit refresh. And now you can see I have my 2 paragraphs. And now you're going to see our weekly specials. Our flatbread pies are 1 for the price of 2. And so let's see what that looks like in our code, right? So here you go. They are listed as a column card box with an image 1, image 2, and image 3. Cards title, weekly specials, get the best deals. Weekly specials, get the best deals. And you'll see the button right here that says go to specials. And you'll know from chapter 9, this href is a tag that I could point to, let's say beer.html or pizza.html. We could adjust that to point to a page. Right now, it's just a space holder. For the sake of the process, we're just filling this information in. So let's see what we have here. Nutrition, location, deals. So we could do weekly specials for deals, and then flatbread pies could be nutrition. Right? Nutrition. And then what do we have for the other? Locations. Number 3 could be locations. And so if that was the case, maybe this is locations.html. And this one is nutrition.html. And just for the sake of the links working, maybe this one is beer.html. File save. We're going to go back over to our design just so that you can see that if the pages don't exist, it's a broken link. But if beer exists, it goes to the beer page. So very cool. All right, so we're continuing to plug along here, and I'm going to scroll down. We're getting through our 3 placards, and you'll notice towards the bottom, there's check out our local craft beers. So locations, Jumbotron Beertron is the image, and check out our locally crafted beers, and that's the end or bottom of our page. So we could go through here and edit every element of our page using our favorite pizza place. I already saved it, so I don't need to do that. Our favorite pizza place, and rebranding it so it no longer says Slices and Mugs. It says Jets Pizza. We have our home page, and we have our beer page. Now you'll notice the beer page was a copy of the home page, so it still says pizza. But we edited the index page so it says onion pizza, the best in the business. Just so that you can see that still says Slices and Mugs, is because that was part of my index.html page. So I probably would want to edit my home page, my navigation, everything, and delete my beer page and rename it as a copy from my index page. Or I have to go into my beer page, and I have to go in to my container and name it Jets Pizza. It depends on how much editing from one page to the other you'll be doing. More than likely, you're going to want to transfer this stuff over, just so that we know that we're custom editing each page of our design. So now you see the location of all of the elements. So let's just see here. Slider 1. Let's go in just so that we can see and make sure that we're all on the same page here. I'm going to go in. Actually, I can just use the Jets Pizza. And is this logo something I can grab? It's a PNG. So let's go into McElroy. Let's go into Web 2. Let's go into McElroy Pizza and Images. And let's just do Jets Pizza logo .png. Let Jets Pizza logo .png. And let's find this logo. Looky there. How cool is that? We just replaced the logo with their logo and kept it in the rounded circle. Maybe we want to make it a little bit bigger. What about 300 by 304? And there it is, a little bigger if we wanted to make it bigger. And I actually have a little glow behind it in CSS. So let's go back to 200 by 204, just so that you can see the effect that it causes. All right, beautiful. So let's save it. Now, that brings us over to our course, Canvas course. Let's get back in. We'll minimize this. And let's get back in to our modules just to refresh our module 1, chapter 9 and 10 from our book, and our out of book project. Our interactive lecture here that was an hour long showed us how to edit our pizza.zip file and make it our out of book project 1. So you'll notice in Dreamweaver, we have started to edit our file and make it Jets Pizza with all of the Jets Pizza information. And your out of book project for this week will be to edit both the index page and the beer page and submit that as a zip file in your out of book assignment 1.7. Chapter 9 and 10 are about 45 minutes each. They're very simple. Chapter 9 is href linking, just basic web page linking. And chapter 10 is image swap and hover overlays with your interactivity of your buttons. I would say each one's probably about 45 minutes. Make sure you do download the student files, unzip them, and re-zip them. If you are just joining the lecture now, make sure that you go back and listen to the first 45 or 50 minutes of the lecture, because we go over the downloading, the renaming, and the uploading of the files. It's just about 7:30 now. I'm going to give the students time to download their files, set up their thumb drive, open up their book and review, and start working on chapter 9 and 10, or continue editing their pizza zip out of book file so that their index and their secondary page, which I just named beer.html because most pizza places is beer, to match a pizza shop of your choice. I just chose Jets because it's around the corner from my house and they got decent pizza. I actually like Pizza 2000 in Fort Myers more, but you will be re-zipping that. If you just join the lecture, make sure that when you unzip my pizza zip file, you rename the folder to your last name _pizza. You have a topic share. You have 2 very basic refresher chapter book assignments, and you have this mini out of book project. So as you're working along tonight or anytime over the weekend, please make sure you email me and let me know how things are going if you have any hiccups along the way. If you joined us late, please make sure you watch back the recording later when I post it in the cloud, because I asked an action item from the class at the beginning of the lecture so that I know everyone is watching the lecture. Every once in a while, students try to bypass the lecture and do the projects without the lecture, and they end up submitting only a portion of what I'm asking for in the build process for our weekly learning module. So I'm going to unshare my desktop now, and I'm going to leave my chat window open, and I'm going to stop the recording so that I can post my recorded lecture here in the next 20 minutes or so when it posts to the cloud.